Girl receives $1 million offer for her dog, but she refuses. The reason will surprise you. Emily's tears blurred her vision as the man in the blue suit held out the paper toward her. $1 million for Buddy, her chocolate lab, whom she clung to as if her life depended on it. "No," she shouted, pulling the dog even tighter against her chest. "You don't understand. I would never sell Buddy." The man, who had introduced himself as Richard Blackwell, adjusted his glasses and insisted, "Young lady, do you realize what $1 million means? Your family would never struggle again. Think about it." Emily shook her head, her brown curls swaying as she took a step back on the grass of Central Park. The afternoon sun filtered through the trees, casting dancing shadows on the ground. But none of that mattered now. "Buddy isn't for sale," she repeated, her voice trembling. The businessman sighed, tucking the check back into his jacket pocket. His gray eyes studied the girl in the blue jean dress with a mix of frustration and something else. Maybe admiration? "You have my card. If you change your mind, call me. The offer stands." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us newcomers. Now back to the story. Emily waited until the man was gone before loosening her grip on Buddy. The Labrador, with his warm brown eyes full of tenderness, licked her face as if he understood her anguish. "Let's go home, Buddy. Mom must be worried." But going home meant facing a reality Emily had been trying to ignore for weeks. The small apartment in Williamsburg was 3 months behind on rent. Her mother, Sarah, worked 2 jobs, and still the money wasn't enough. When Emily walked in, she found her mother sitting at the kitchen table surrounded by bills. Sarah's tired face brightened when she saw her daughter. "Hi, sweetheart. How was your walk?" Emily hesitated. Should she mention the offer? She decided against it, at least not now. "It was good, Mom. Buddy ran a lot." Sarah patted the dog's head as he nuzzled against her. "This rascal eats more than the 2 of us combined," she said with a sad smile. It felt like a knife twisting in Emily's heart. She knew her mother would never ask her to give up Buddy, but the truth was right there, raw and harsh. That night, Emily barely slept. Buddy, as always, lay at the foot of her bed, completely unaware of the storm of thoughts in the girl's mind. $1 million. They could pay the rent, buy a house, and her mother could quit one of her jobs. But every time she considered accepting, she remembered how Buddy had come into her life. It was 3 years ago, right after her father. Emily shook her head, pushing away the painful memories. The next morning, Sarah's phone rang insistently. Emily, making coffee, watched her mother's face pale. "Yes, ma'am, I understand. But if you could just give us a few more days..." It was the landlady. Emily didn't need to hear the rest to know what was happening. Eviction. The word echoed in her mind like a funeral bell. When Sarah hung up, her eyes were wet. "Sweetheart, we need to talk." "I know, Mom. I heard." Sarah hugged her daughter, and for a few minutes they stayed like that, silent, just holding each other. "We'll figure it out, my love. We always do." But Emily knew this time was different. This time they were at their limit. That's when she made the hardest decision of her life. "Mom, there's something I need to tell you." Sarah listened quietly as Emily recounted her meeting with Richard Blackwell. When she finished, a heavy silence filled the kitchen. $1 million? Sarah repeated, stunned. "Yes, but I said no. I can't sell Buddy, Mom." Sarah held her daughter's hands. "No one is asking you to, sweetheart. We'll find another solution." But what solution? Emily spent the whole day thinking about it. At school, she could barely pay attention in class. Her friend Madison noticed something was wrong. "Emily, you seem off today. What's going on?" Emily told her everything. Madison, always practical, didn't hesitate. "Girl, I'm sorry, but you're being silly. It's a dog. $1 million could change your lives." "You don't understand, Madison. Buddy isn't just a dog." "Then explain it to me. Why is he worth more than $1 million? Emily opened her mouth to answer, but the words wouldn't come. How could she explain something she herself was still trying to understand? That afternoon, on her way home from school, Emily saw something unusual. Richard Blackwell was standing in front of her building, next to an elegant woman in her 40s. "Emily, so glad you're here. This is my wife, Catherine." The woman extended her hand to Emily, who shook it hesitantly. "Pleasure, dear. Richard has told me so much about you and your dog." "What do you want?" Emily asked defensively. "To talk," Catherine replied with a gentle smile. "May we come up?" Emily hesitated, but something in the woman's eyes made her agree. In the small apartment, Sarah greeted the couple with surprise and some suspicion. "Mrs. Sarah," Richard began, "I know my offer might seem strange, but I need to explain further." "I'm listening," Sarah replied protectively. Catherine was the one who continued. "You see, we have a daughter, Olivia. She's the same age as Emily." Emily frowned. What did this have to do with Buddy? "Olivia is sick," Catherine went on, her voice breaking. "The doctors say a therapy dog could help her a lot. And when Richard saw Buddy in the park yesterday, how calm and gentle he is." "There are plenty of calm, gentle dogs," Emily interrupted. "Why does it have to be Buddy?" Richard and Catherine exchanged a meaningful look. "Because Olivia saw a photo of him," Richard admitted. "I took it yesterday from a distance. It was the first time in months she showed interest in anything." Silence filled the room. Buddy, oblivious to the tension, slept peacefully in the corner. "I'm so sorry about your daughter," Sarah finally said, "but I can't ask Emily to give up. Her dog, Buddy, means everything to us." "We understand," Catherine said, standing up, "but if you change your mind—" After the couple left, Emily hugged Buddy tightly. Why did life have to be so complicated? On one side, her family desperately needed the money. On the other, a sick girl who seemed to only care about Buddy. "Mum, what do I do?" Sarah sat beside her daughter. "You follow your heart, sweetheart. But you need to understand that whatever you decide, there will be consequences." The consequences came faster than they expected. The next day, a court officer knocked on their door with an eviction notice. They had 30 days to leave the apartment. Sarah tried to stay calm, but Emily saw her hands shaking as she read the document. 30 days, Sarah murmured. "How am I supposed to find another place in 30 days? That's when Emily made her decision. She took Richard Blackwell's card and dialed the number. "Hello?" the businessman's voice answered. "Mr. Richard, it's Emily. I want to make a counteroffer." "I'm listening." "I won't sell. Birdie, but what if I let your daughter spend time with him, like supervised visits?" The silence on the other end was long. "That could work. When can we start?" "There's one condition," Emily continued, her heart racing. "You'd have to help us find a place to live. It doesn't have to be fancy, just somewhere." "Deal," Richard replied without hesitation. "Can we meet tomorrow to work out the details?" When Emily hung up, Sarah looked at her with a mix of pride and worry. "Are you sure about this, honey?" "No, Mum, but it's better than losing Buddy or ending up on the street." The next day, Emily and Sarah went to the Blackwells' mansion in Beverly Hills. The contrast between the luxurious neighborhood and their modest Williamsburg home was striking. Emily felt small standing before the massive iron gates. Catherine greeted them personally, guiding them through a flawless garden to the main house. "Olivia is in her room. She doesn't leave much." They climbed a marble staircase to the second floor. Catherine stopped in front of a door decorated with star stickers. "Olivia, sweetheart, Emily is here with Buddy." There was no answer. Catherine opened the door slowly, revealing a room that looked more like a private hospital. Medical equipment filled the space, and in the middle of it all lay a pale girl with straight blonde hair. Olivia didn't move when they entered. Her blue eyes stared blankly at the ceiling. "Olivia suffered a terrible trauma," Catherine whispered. "She hasn't spoken in 6 months." Emily's heart ached. She let go of Buddy's leash, and the chocolate lab, as if understanding the situation, slowly approached the bed. Then something extraordinary happened. Olivia turned her head. Her empty eyes focused on the dog. A tear rolled down her face. Buddy, with his canine intuition, gently climbed onto the bed and lay beside the girl. Trembling, Olivia reached out and touched the dog's soft fur. "He looks like Charlie." Olivia's voice was barely a hoarse whisper. Catherine covered her mouth, tears streaming down her face. "She spoke. Richard, Richard, come quick. Olivia spoke." The room erupted in emotion. Richard rushed in, and seeing his daughter petting Buddy, his eyes welled up too. Charlie was her dog, Catherine explained to Emily, still emotional. We lost him the same day as the accident. Emily began to understand. It wasn't Buddy specifically that Olivia wanted. It was the memory of Charlie, her lost dog, and Buddy, by some twist of fate, looked enough like him to pull Olivia out of her catatonic state. "Can we talk outside?" Richard suggested, seeing Olivia and Buddy were fine. In Richard's lavish office, the details of the arrangement were discussed. Emily and Sarah could move into a small house the Blackwells owned in Astoria. In exchange, Emily would bring Buddy to visit Olivia 3 times a week. "That seems fair," Sarah agreed, "but I want to be clear. Buddy is still ours." "Of course," Richard assured. "We don't want to take Emily's dog. We just want Olivia to have a chance to get better." The deal was sealed with a handshake, but as they signed the papers, Emily couldn't shake the feeling there was more to this story, something the Blackwells weren't telling them. The move happened the following week. The house in Astoria was modest compared to the Blackwells' mansion, but to Emily and Sarah, it was a palace. 2 bedrooms, a spacious living room, a backyard. Buddy happily ran around the new space. "I can't believe we have a home, Mom." Sarah hugged her daughter, but Emily noticed the worry in her eyes. "What's wrong, Mum?" "Nothing, honey, just be careful with that family. Rich people always have ulterior motives." Emily wanted to argue, but something in her mother's warning echoed her own doubts. Why was Richard at the park that specific day? How did he know she'd be there with Buddy? The visits with Olivia began the following Monday. Emily learned the girl had a strict routine of physical therapy, occupational therapy, and private lessons. But during her time with Buddy, Olivia seemed to come alive. "You know," Olivia said during one visit, "Charlie saved my life." Emily, who was brushing Buddy's fur while Olivia petted him, stopped in surprise. "What do you mean?" Olivia fell silent for so long that Emily thought she wouldn't answer. "On the day of the accident, Charlie barked so much that my dad stopped the car. If he hadn't stopped—" She didn't finish the sentence, but Emily understood. The dog had sensed the danger and saved the family. But in the process, something had happened to him. "What happened to Charlie, Olivia?" The girl's eyes filled with tears. "He ran away after the accident when the paramedics arrived. He just disappeared. We never found him again." Emily felt a shiver run down her spine. There was something familiar about this story, something that stirred buried memories in her own mind. That night, Emily couldn't sleep. She kept looking at Buddy, trying to understand why Charlie's story troubled her so much. Then she remembered something her mother had said years ago, when Buddy first came into their lives. Emily was 9. Her father, Daniel, had left just a few months earlier, not in the way people thought, but still gone. It was on a rainy morning that she found Buddy, still a puppy, shivering under a car. But there was something strange. Buddy was wearing an expensive collar, one with an ID chip. But when Sarah tried to track down the owner, the chip was damaged. They decided to keep the dog, and Buddy became Emily's comfort in those difficult days. Now, 3 years later, the puzzle pieces were falling into place in a disturbing way. Could it be possible that Buddy was Charlie? Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now, continuing. The next morning, Emily decided to investigate. During her visit to Olivia, she casually asked, "Olivia, did Charlie have any special markings, something only your family knew about?" Olivia thought for a moment. "Yes, a little heart-shaped spot on his belly. Mum always said it was proof that Charlie was born to love." Emily's world spun. Buddy had that exact mark. She'd discovered it during his first bath years ago. But how was this possible? The dates didn't add up. Olivia's accident was 6 months ago, but Buddy had been with her for 3 years. Unless... "Olivia, when did you lose Charlie the first time?" The girl frowned. "First time? We only lost him once, in the accident." "Are you sure? He never ran away before." Olivia was about to answer when Catherine walked into the room. "Emily, sweetheart, can I talk to you for a moment?" In the hallway, Catherine seemed nervous. Emily, why are you asking these questions about Charlie? Just curiosity, Emily lied. Catherine studied the girl's face for a long moment. Look, I know this must be confusing for you, all of this, but Olivia is getting better thanks to you and Buddy. Please don't reopen old wounds. But Emily couldn't let it go. That night, she asked Sarah, Mum, do you remember exactly when we found Buddy? Sarah, who was washing dishes, paused. Why are you asking? Just tell me, Mom, please. Sarah sighed, drying her hands on her apron. It was March 3 years ago, about 2 months after your dad left. You were so sad. And when you showed up with that wet little puppy, I couldn't say no. And his chip? You said it was damaged. Yes, I took him to a pet store, but they couldn't read it, since no one came looking for him. Emily did the math in her head. If Buddy was really Charlie, he would have run away from the Blackwells 3 years ago, been found by her, and now fate had brought them back together. But why would he have run away? The next day, Emily decided to test her theory. During the visit, she watched every interaction between Buddy and the Blackwell family. Buddy was affectionate with Olivia, but kept a certain distance from Richard. With Catherine, he was polite, but not overly excited. That's when Mrs. Jenkins, the housekeeper, came into the room with a snack. Buddy immediately ran to her, wagging his tail frantically. Well, well, Mrs. Jenkins laughed. What a sweet dog. He likes you, Olivia observed. Buddy is usually more reserved with strangers. Mrs. Jenkins scratched behind Buddy's ears, and the dog practically melted. I have a way with animals, always have. Charlie was the same with me. She stopped abruptly, looking at Buddy more closely. My God, she whispered. What is it, Mrs. Jenkins? Olivia asked. Nothing, child. Nothing. It's just, this dog really reminds me of Charlie. But Emily saw the look Mrs. Jenkins gave Buddy before leaving. It was a look of recognition and of fear. After the visit, Emily waited outside the mansion. When Mrs. Jenkins left to go home, Emily approached her. You know, don't you? Buddy is Charlie. Mrs. Jenkins froze, her eyes wide. Child, you don't know what you're talking about. I do, and I want the truth. Why did Charlie run away 3 years ago? Mrs. Jenkins glanced around nervously. I can't talk about this. Please, Emily begged. I need to know. The housekeeper sighed heavily. All right, but not here. Meet me at Washington Square Park tomorrow at 3 and don't tell anyone. Emily spent the night wide awake, a million theories racing through her head. What did Mrs. Jenkins know? Why so much secrecy? The next day she made up an excuse for her mother and went to the meeting. Mrs. Jenkins was already there, sitting on a bench away from the crowd. First of all, the housekeeper began, you need to understand that the Blackwells aren't bad people, but sometimes money and power change people. What happened 3 years ago? Mrs. Jenkins took a deep breath. Olivia was always a special child. Too sensitive for this world, the doctor said. When she was 7, her parents gave her Charlie as a gift. It was love at first sight. Emily listened intently, Buddy lying at her feet. But Richard, he's a businessman. Cold, calculating. He started thinking Olivia was too spoiled, too attached to the dog. Said it was making her weak. And he decided Charlie had to go, planned to take him to a kennel upstate, far away. But Olivia found out. The girl had a terrible meltdown, cried for days. That's when I got an idea. Emily held her breath. You helped Charlie escape. Mrs. Jenkins nodded, tears in her eyes. I damaged his microchip so they couldn't track him and let him go far from here. I thought he'd find a good family. I never imagined that he'd find me, Emily finished. When Richard found out Charlie ran away, he was furious. But seeing Olivia's state, he ended up buying another dog that looked similar. But Olivia knew it wasn't Charlie. She never bonded with the new dog. And the accident. 6 months ago, the family was coming back from a trip. Olivia had taken Charlie's replacement, insisting on calling him Charlie too. There was a bad crash. The dog ran off in the chaos and Olivia, she just shut down. Emily processed everything. It was too much of a coincidence, yet it made sense. Buddy, Charlie, had found in her the love Olivia couldn't give anymore. And now fate had brought them back together. What do I do, Mrs. Jenkins? That, my child, only you can decide, but know this. Olivia needs the truth to heal completely, and Richard, he's changed a lot since the accident. Maybe he's ready to listen too. Emily went home with a heavy heart. How could she tell the truth without destroying the arrangement that kept a roof over their heads? How could she explain she'd ended up unknowingly with Olivia's dog? Sarah noticed immediately something was wrong. Emily, what happened? You're pale. Emily told her mother everything. Sarah listened in silence, her face growing, more and more worried. Oh my God, she murmured when Emily finished. What are we going to do? I don't know, Mom. If we tell the truth, they might want Buddy back, but if we don't, we'd be living a lie. Mother and daughter exchanged glances, the weight of the decision hanging between them. Buddy, oblivious to the drama, slept peacefully on the couch. The next day, during the visit to Olivia, Emily was visibly tense. Olivia, who had developed a sharp sensitivity, noticed immediately. What's wrong, Emily? You seem off. It's nothing. Is it about Buddy? Don't you want to bring him anymore? The panic on Olivia's face broke Emily's heart. No, it's not that. It's just… Olivia, I need to ask you something. If you found out Charlie was alive, what would you do? Olivia went very quiet. Charlie is dead, she said finally, or lost forever, which is the same thing. But what if he wasn't? What if he was living, happily with another family? Then, Olivia said slowly, I'd be happy for him. Charlie deserved to be loved. If he found that, that's what matters. The maturity in the 12-year-old's voice surprised Emily. It was as if the suffering had aged her beyond her years. At that moment, Richard walked into the room. Girls, everything all right here? Emily made an impulsive decision. Mr. Blackwell, I need to tell you something, both you and Olivia. Emily, no, Olivia protested, thinking her friend was about to announce the end of their visits. No, Olivia, listen. It's important. It's about Charlie. Richard's face hardened. What about Charlie? Emily took a deep breath and told them everything. About finding Buddy 3 years ago, about the heart-shaped mark, about the conversation with Mrs. Jenkins. As she spoke, she watched Richard's face shift through a range of emotions. Surprise, anger, understanding, and finally, something that looked like regret. Olivia, meanwhile, stared at Buddy with an unreadable expression. When Emily finished, the silence in the room was deafening. You're saying, Richard spoke slowly, that this dog is Charlie, our Charlie? I think so. Richard stood abruptly and left the room. Catherine, who had entered midway through the story, hurried after him. Olivia remained silent, still looking at Buddy. Olivia, I'm so sorry, Emily began, tears streaming down her face. I didn't know. If I had, I would have brought him back sooner. Emily, Olivia interrupted, come here. Emily hesitated but stepped closer. Olivia took her hand. You saved Charlie. When he needed love the most, you were there. How could I be mad about that? But he's your dog. Was. For look at him. Buddy lay between the two girls, completely relaxed. He's happy with you. He chose you just like he chose me once. Catherine returned to the room, her eyes red. Richard needs time to process this. Emily, I think it's best if you go home today. Emily nodded, picking up Buddy's leash. But Olivia stopped her. Wait. She took a bracelet off her wrist, a delicate gold chain. This was Charlie's. I want Buddy to have it. Emily accepted the bracelet with trembling hands. When she left the mansion, her heart was in pieces. She'd done the right thing by telling the truth, but at what cost? At home, Sarah was waiting, anxiously. So? I told them everything. Emily collapsed onto the couch. I think I ruined everything, Mom. Sarah hugged her daughter. You did the right thing, my love. The truth is always the best path, even when it hurts. What if they want Buddy back? What if they kick us out of the house? Then we'll face it together like we always have. But Emily couldn't stop thinking about Richard's expression. There was something broken in that man, something deeper than just the dog. 3 days passed with no word from the Blackwells. Emily barely ate, barely slept. Buddy, sensing his owner's distress, never left her side. Then, on a rainy Thursday, the doorbell rang. Emily opened the door and came face to face with Richard. He wasn't wearing his usual impeccable suit, just jeans and a simple t-shirt. He looked like he'd aged years in days. "May I come in?" Emily led him to the living room where Sarah waited tensely. "I came to apologize," Richard began without preamble, "and to explain a few things." He sank heavily onto the couch, Buddy approaching cautiously. "I'm not a good man," he continued. "Or at least I wasn't. When Olivia was born, I was at the peak of my career, working 20 hours a day building my empire. Catherine practically raised Olivia alone. Emily and Sarah listened in silence. When Olivia turned 7, Catherine insisted she needed a dog. I was against it, thought it was unnecessary. But I agreed, as long as it didn't disrupt my routine. That's how Charlie came into our lives." Buddy, as if recognizing his old name, perked up his ears. Olivia and Charlie were inseparable, and in my arrogance, I thought it was unhealthy. A girl her age shouldn't depend so much on an animal. I started pressuring Catherine to limit their time together. Richard paused, clearly wrestling with the memories. "When I decided to get rid of Charlie, I told myself it was for Olivia's sake, that she needed to learn to be strong, independent. But the truth is I was jealous." "Jealous?" Sarah asked, surprised. "Yes, jealous of a dog. Olivia paid more attention to him than to me. Of course I was never around, but my ego couldn't see that. When Charlie ran away, or rather, when Mrs. Jenkins set him free, Olivia nearly fell apart. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us newcomers a lot. Now, continuing. I bought another dog that looked just like him, thinking she wouldn't even notice the difference. But Olivia always knew. She called him Charlie, but it wasn't the same. The light in her eyes dimmed a little that day, and I pretended not to see. Buddy moved closer to Richard, sniffing his hand. The businessman carefully petted the dog's head. "The accident 6 months ago was a turning point. A truck lost its brakes and hit us. By some miracle, we survived without serious injuries. But Olivia, it was like something inside her just shut off. The doctors said it was post-traumatic stress, but I knew the truth." "What truth?" Emily asked. "That I'd failed as a father. That in the moment of danger, Olivia didn't cry out for me or Catherine. She cried out for Charlie, the real Charlie, not the replacement. And when the other dog ran off in the chaos, she just gave up." Tears streamed down Richard's face. "Now, I spent the last 6 months trying everything. The best doctors, therapists, experimental treatments, nothing worked. Until I saw you in the park." "How did you know we'd be there?" Emily asked. Richard smiled sadly. "I didn't. It was pure coincidence. I was coming back from another failed appointment when I saw you with Buddy. Something about him, I don't know, he reminded me so much of Charlie that I had to approach you. When he reacted to the name when I saw that mark, why didn't you say anything then?" "Because I saw how much you loved him. I saw in you the same love Olivia had for Charlie. And for the first time in years, I did the right thing. I tried to buy your happiness instead of stealing it." Silence filled the room. Buddy, as if sensing the gravity of the moment, lay down between them. "What happens now?" Sarah asked. "Now," Richard said, "I ask a favor. Not as the businessman who offered $1 million, but as a desperate father. Keep taking Buddy to see Olivia. But more than that, be her friend. Olivia needs to learn to love again, and not just through Buddy." "What about the house deal?" Sarah pressed. "It stands no matter what. Your family now. The family Buddy chose, and that Olivia is choosing too." Emily felt a lump in her throat. "Mr. Richard, Buddy, Charlie, he's Olivia's. If she wants—" "No," Richard interrupted her. "Buddy is yours. Charlie belonged to Olivia. They're two. Different dogs now, shaped by different experiences. What matters is that he's bringing our families together." After Richard left, Emily hugged Buddy tightly. "Did you hear that, boy? You have 2 families now." Sarah watched her daughter with pride. "You were so brave telling the truth, Emily." "I was so scared, Mom." "I know, but look what happened. The truth set everyone free." In the days that followed, something shifted in the dynamics of their visits. Olivia became more open, talking not just about Buddy, Charlie, but about her, fears, her hopes. Emily discovered that behind the wealthy girl was a lonely soul who just wanted a true friend. "You know," Olivia said one afternoon, "I think I understand why Charlie ran away." "Why?" "He must have sensed someone needed him more. You, Emily. You needed him in that moment, and he went to find you." Emily thought of her father who had left, the pain she'd felt, how Buddy had filled that void. "Maybe you're right. I always knew Charlie was special," Olivia continued. "He wasn't just a dog. He was like a four-legged angel." The girls laughed, and Buddy, seizing the light mood, started his usual antics, rolling on the floor and begging for affection. Catherine, watching from the doorway, smiled. It was the first time she'd heard Olivia laugh in months. But not everything was perfect. At school, Emily faced bullying from some classmates who had found out about her arrangement with the Blackwells. "Look at the gold digger," Taylor, the group's leader, taunted. "Sold her dog for a house." "It wasn't like that," Emily defended herself. "Oh, really? Then how was it? Tell us how you manipulated a rich family." Emily felt her blood boil, but remembered Sarah's words. "Other people's opinions don't define who you are." It was Madison who stood up for her. "You don't know anything. Emily's helping a sick girl. That's more than any of you would do." But the teasing continued, and Emily began to question herself. Was what she was doing really right? Was she taking advantage of the situation? Olivia noticed the change in her friend's mood. "What's going on, Emily? You've been quiet." Emily hesitated but finally confessed about the bullying. Olivia was furious. "Those girls know nothing. You saved my life, Emily. Literally." "Don't exaggerate, Olivia." "I'm not. Mom said the doctors were considering psychiatric hospitalization. I was dying inside, and you and Buddy brought me back." Just then, Catherine walked in with a tray of snacks and a suggestion. "Girls, how about we do something different today? A picnic in the garden?" It was the first of many special moments. Little by little, the two families grew closer. Sarah and Catherine discovered they had much in common, despite their social differences. Both were single mothers in practice, Sarah by abandonment, Catherine by her husband's emotional absence. Richard changed too. He started working less, being more present. One afternoon, he surprised everyone by showing up in sneakers and a t-shirt to play with Buddy in the garden. "Dad!" Olivia exclaimed in shock. "What are you doing?" "Trying to make up for lost time," he replied, tossing the ball to Buddy. It was moving to see the dog gradually accept Richard, as if Buddy Charlie understood the man had changed and deserved a second chance. But life, as always, had its surprises. One Saturday morning, Sarah got a call that left her pale. "What's wrong, Mum?" Emily asked worriedly. "It was the hospital. Your father. He's been admitted." Emily's world stopped. Daniel had left 3 years ago, vanished without a trace except for a letter asking for forgiveness. And now? "Is he in bad shape?" Emily managed to ask. "Yes. Advanced cirrhosis. He asked to see you." Emily felt a mix of anger, sadness, and something she couldn't quite name. Buddy, sensing her anguish, rested his head on her lap. "I don't want to see him," she finally said. "Emily, no, Mom, he abandoned us. Disappeared when we needed him most. Why should I go now?" Sarah hugged her daughter. "Because, my love, forgiveness frees the one who forgives more than the one who's forgiven." Emily wrestled with the decision for days. It was Olivia who, unaware of the situation, gave the final push. "You know, Emily, I used to be so angry at my father for trying to get rid of Charlie, but after the accident, when I thought I might lose him, I realized the anger was only hurting me. And what did you do? I forgave him. Not for him, but for me. And you know what? It was liberating." That afternoon, Emily made her decision. She would see her father, but she wouldn't go alone. "Can I bring Buddy?" she asked the hospital nurse. "Normally, no. But given the circumstances, make it a quick visit." Daniel was unrecognizable. The strong, healthy man from her memories had been replaced by someone frail and yellowed. When he saw Emily, his eyes filled with tears. "Daughter." "Hi, Dad." The awkward silence was broken by Buddy, who approached the bed and rested, his snout on Daniel's arm. "You got a dog?" Daniel observed with a weak smile. He found me, Emily corrected. When you left. Daniel closed his eyes, guilt evident on his face. Emily, I'm so sorry. I was a coward. Weak. The drinking? I know, Dad, Mom explained. I wanted to come back so many times. But the shame. And then the longer it went on, Emily felt the tears coming. Why now, Dad? Why call for me now? Because I'm dying, Daniel said simply, and I couldn't go without asking for your forgiveness, without telling you I love you, that I've always loved you, even when I was too weak to stay. Buddy climbed onto the bed, lying carefully beside Daniel. The man petted the dog's fur with trembling hands. Thank you, he whispered to Buddy. Thank you for taking care of my girl when I couldn't. Emily couldn't hold back anymore. The tears came in a flood, 3 years of hurt and abandonment pouring out. Daniel reached out and she took his hand. I forgive you, Dad, she managed between sobs. I forgive you. Daniel died 3 days later, with Emily and Sarah by his side. It was a painful but necessary closing of a chapter in their lives. At the funeral, a surprise, Richard and Catherine appeared, with Olivia. We thought you could use some support, Catherine said simply, hugging Sarah. It was then that Emily fully understood what she had built. It wasn't just an agreement about a dog. It was an expanded family, united by Buddy Charlie and strengthened by love and mutual understanding. Olivia held Emily's hand throughout the service, 2 girls who knew the pain of loss leaning on each other. After the funeral, life slowly returned to its rhythm. The visits continued, but now they were more than that. They were family gatherings. Sunday lunches, afternoons in the park, even a few short trips. Olivia improved every day. She went back to school, made new friends, but Emily remained her best friend, the one who understood without words. One special afternoon, Olivia made an announcement. I want to throw a birthday party, my first in years. How wonderful, sweetheart, Catherine exclaimed. But there's one condition, Olivia continued. I want it to be at the animal shelter. I want other kids to find their Charlies, their buddies. The party was a success. Dozens of underprivileged children had the chance to interact with the shelter animals. 3 adoptions happened that day. Emily watched everything with a full heart. Olivia, the girl who had barely left her room for months, now radiated life and purpose. You know, Olivia said, approaching with Buddy, I think I understand the plan. What plan? The universe's plan, destiny, whatever. Charlie needed to become Buddy to save you, and Buddy needed to stay. Charlie to save me, and in the process our families found each other. Emily smiled. You've gotten philosophical. It's just that sometimes, Olivia scratched behind Buddy's ears, bad things happen to make room for better ones. Richard, who had been listening from a distance, walked over. Can I talk to you two? He guided the girls to a more private corner. I have a proposal, not a business proposal, but one from the heart. Emily and Olivia exchanged curious glances. I'm starting a foundation for animal-assisted therapy, for kids like Olivia who need this kind of help but can't afford it. That's amazing, Dad, Olivia exclaimed, and I wanted, well, I'd like you two to be the ambassadors of the project. You and Buddy are living proof that it works. Emily felt her heart race. Mr. Blackwell, I don't know what to say. Say yes, he smiled. You 3 have a powerful story, one that can help so many other children. And so, what began as a refusal of $1 million turned into something much bigger. The Ichiwa Charlie and Buddy Foundation, as it was named, started small but grew quickly. Emily and Olivia traveled to schools sharing their story. Buddy, now officially a certified therapy dog, charmed children everywhere he went. Sarah found new purpose helping manage the foundation. Her experience with financial struggles was invaluable in understanding the families they served. Catherine, in turn, used her social connections to raise funds. It's the noblest cause I've ever supported, she said at every event. But the real miracle happened during therapy sessions. Children with autism, who hadn't spoken in years, said their first words to Buddy. Teens with depression found reasons to smile. Families torn apart by tragedy rediscovered hope. 1 year after the foundation began, On a sunny afternoon in the same Central Park where it all started, the two families held a celebratory picnic. "You know," Sarah remarked, "sometimes I wonder what would have happened if Emily had taken the million." "We would have lost all this," Catherine replied. "Emily taught us there are things money can't buy." Richard, playing with Buddy, paused to reflect. "I spent my whole life believing money solved everything. It took nearly losing my daughter to realize I was wrong." Olivia and Emily, lying on the grass watching the clouds, talked about the future. "What do you want to be when you grow up, Emily? A vet, or maybe a psychologist specializing in animal therapy? What about you?" "I want to keep doing our work, expand the foundation, bring hope to more kids." Buddy, lying between them, seemed to approve with a loud snore. But life still had surprises in store. One ordinary morning, Mrs. Jenkins showed up at the foundation with a mysterious look. "Girls, I need to show you something." She led Emily and Olivia to a back room where a large box waited. "What's this?" Olivia asked. "Open it and see." Inside the box, 4 chocolate lab puppies slept curled up together. One in particular caught Emily's eye. It had a small heart-shaped spot on its belly. "It can't be," Emily whispered. Mrs. Jenkins smiled. "Their mother was abandoned at the shelter while pregnant. When I saw this little one with the mark..." Olivia carefully picked up the puppy. It opened its tiny eyes and licked her face. "It's as if Charlie sent us a sign," she said emotionally. "What are we going to do with them?" Emily asked. "Train them," Richard said, walking into the room. 4 new therapists for our foundation." And so the legacy of Buddy Charlie multiplied. The puppies were named Hope, Love, Faith, and Courage. Each found their own path, helping different children with different needs. Emily closely followed their training, amazed by the dog's ability to sense and respond to human emotions. It was as if Buddy had passed his gift forward. During one session, a 6-year-old girl who hadn't spoken since witnessing a terrible trauma whispered her first word in months. "Dog." The girl's mother burst into tears. The team was moved. And Emily understood once again that she had made the right choice in refusing the $1 million. The work wasn't easy. There were difficult days, children who didn't respond, families who gave up. But for every failure, there were 10 successes that made it all worthwhile. Olivia, now 14, had become an inspiring speaker. She shared her story at medical conferences, moving even seasoned professionals. "An animal's love can heal wounds medicine can't reach," she said. "I'm living proof of that." Emily, meanwhile, focused on working directly with the children. She had a natural gift for connecting young patients with the right animal. The soul matcher, as they affectionately called her. One special afternoon, they received an unexpected visit. Taylor, the girl who had bullied Emily in school, showed up at the foundation. "Emily, I need help." Taylor explained that her younger sister had developed selective mutism after their parents' divorce. Nothing had worked. "I know I was awful to you," Taylor said, tears in her eyes. "But I've seen what you do here and—" "Bring your sister," Emily interrupted. "The past is in the past." Taylor's sister, an 8-year-old girl named Emma, arrived the following week. Quiet, withdrawn, she barely looked anyone in the eye. Emily studied her carefully before making a decision. She led her to Hope, the calmest of the litter. The connection was instant. Emma knelt, and Hope jumped into her lap, licking away her tears. Then the miracle. "Hi, puppy," Emma whispered. Taylor broke down in tears. She hugged Emily tightly. Forgive me for everything." "You're already forgiven," Emily replied. "Now let's help your sister." Emma's case became one of the Foundation's greatest successes. Within 6 months, she not only spoke normally again, but also became one of the junior volunteers, helping other children. Years passed. The Foundation grew, opening branches in other cities. The model created by 2 girls and a dog became a national standard. Buddy, now a dignified 9-year-old canine elder, remained active, though he worked fewer hours. He was revered as the founder of the institution, greeting distinguished visitors with the same grace as always. At a special ceremony, Buddy received an honor from the New York City mayor, the title of Honorary New Yorker. He was the first animal ever to receive such a distinction. "Speech! Speech!" the crowd teased. Buddy, ever the gentleman, barked once and wagged his tail, drawing laughter and applause. Olivia, now a college student studying psychology, gave the speech on his behalf. "This dog taught me that love knows no barriers, that sometimes we must lose ourselves to be found, that destiny works in mysterious ways, bringing together lives that need each other." Emily, standing beside her friend, added, "Buddy taught me that the greatest treasures can't be bought, that $1 million isn't worth a moment of true love, that when we choose the heart over the wallet, the universe conspires in our favor." Sarah and Catherine, now business partners and best friends, watched proudly. Richard, transformed into a present and loving man, filmed everything for posterity. After the ceremony, as everyone celebrated, Emily found a moment to be alone with Buddy. They sat on the same park bench where, years earlier, she had refused the offer that would change their lives. "You know, boy," she said, stroking his now graying head, "sometimes I wonder if you knew, if when you ran away all those years ago, you knew you needed to find me." Buddy looked at her with those wise brown eyes as if to say, "Of course, I knew. You saved so many people, Buddy. Olivia, me, all those children. You really are a four-legged angel." Buddy rested his head on Emily's lap, sighing contentedly. The two sat there watching the sunset, reflecting on the extraordinary journey they had shared. A year later, on a spring morning, Buddy didn't wake up. He passed peacefully in his sleep after a life full of purpose and love. The grief was profound. Emily and Olivia wept in each other's arms. The families came together in sorrow, just as they had in joy. Buddy's funeral was a public event. Hundreds attended. Children he had helped, transformed families, inspired volunteers. Each had a story about how that chocolate lab had touched their lives. Olivia read a heartfelt letter. "Dear Charlie, dear Buddy, you had two names because you had two missions. As Charlie, you taught me to love. As Buddy, you taught Emily to heal. And as both, you taught us that true love transcends names, homes, and even time." Emily planted a tree in Buddy's memory in the Foundation's garden. A plaque read, "Here rests a friend who proved love is priceless." But the story didn't end with Buddy. Hope, love, faith, and courage carried on the legacy. New puppies were trained. The Foundation became an institute, offering certification courses in animal-assisted therapy. Emily, now a veterinarian specializing in animal behavior, took over as the institute's technical director. Olivia, a licensed psychologist, handled the human side of the work. One afternoon, 5 years after Buddy's passing, Emily received a puzzling call. "Dr. Emily, my name is Jessica. I have a strange story to tell. About a dog I found." Emily listened patiently. Jessica had found an elderly lab, abandoned and showing signs of abuse, but what stood out was an old heart-shaped scar on his belly. Emily's heart raced. "Can you bring him here?" When Jessica arrived with the dog, Emily was certain it wasn't Buddy, of course, but it felt like the universe had sent another messenger. The dog, named Legacy, had a sad story. Abandoned by a family that moved away, he had survived on the streets for months, but his eyes still shone with kindness. "He's perfect," Olivia said as she examined him. "Perfect for Ethan." Ethan was a 10-year-old boy, new to the program. He had lost his entire family in a disaster and hadn't spoken since. When Ethan and Legacy met, it was magic. For the first time in months, the boy managed to smile. Legacy, as if understanding his pain, laid his head on the boy's lap and stayed there, offering silent comfort. "It's like watching history repeat itself," Sarah observed tearfully. "Not repeat," Catherine corrected. "Continue. The story continues through every animal and every child we help." And it was true. The Charlie and Buddy Institute had become more than an organization. It was a movement. Families who had been helped returned as volunteers. Healed children grew up to become therapists. The cycle of love went on. Richard, now chairman of the Institute's board, used to say, "I tried to buy a dog for $1 million. Instead, I gained something priceless, a second chance at fatherhood, an expanded family, and the opportunity to make a difference." At a gala fundraiser, Emily was invited to tell the original story. She took the stage, moved by the crowd. It all started with a no, she began. A no to $1 million. At the time, many thought I was crazy, maybe I was. But it was a madness guided by love. She recounted the whole saga, from finding Buddy as a puppy to founding the Institute. The audience listened, spellbound. Today, looking back, I understand Buddy wasn't mine to sell. He was a gift from the universe, lent to me to fulfill a greater mission. And what a mission! She showed slides with numbers. Over 5,000 children helped, 500 therapy dogs trained, 20 branches across the United States. All because an 11-year-old girl said no. All because I chose love over money. The ovation was thunderous. Record donations were made that night. Olivia stepped onto the stage and hugged her friend. "You know what's most amazing?" she whispered. "We're just getting started." And it was true. Plans for international expansion were underway. Partnerships with universities for research. A documentary about Buddy's story in production. But amid all the success, Emily never forgot the simple lessons Buddy had taught her. Every morning, before work, she'd stop by the tree planted in his memory. "Good morning, Buddy," she'd say. "Ready to keep changing the world today?" And without fail, a breeze would rustle the leaves, as if Buddy replied, "Always, my girl, always." One morning, Emily received a puzzling letter. It was from an elderly woman named Mrs. Thompson, a resident of a nursing home in Rochester. "Dear Emily, I saw your story on TV and need to tell you something. Many years ago, I ran a kennel. One day, I found an abandoned puppy with a peculiar heart-shaped mark." Emily took the first bus to Rochester. She needed to hear this story. Mrs. Thompson, an 80-year-old woman with bright eyes, welcomed her with tea and cookies. "It was 1990, she began. "I found a litter abandoned by the roadside. All were adopted except one. He had this mark. On his chest, you see, shaped like a heart." Emily held her breath. "I named him Cupid. He was a special dog, you know. He seemed to understand people. Whenever someone came to the kennel sad, Cupid would always comfort them." "What happened to him?" "He lived with me until he was 15, had a long, happy life. But before he passed, something curious happened. A pregnant stray appeared. At the kennel. Cupid, old as he was, cared for her like she was his own." Emily felt chills. The puppies were born, and one had the same mark, as if Cupid had passed it on. "I gave that pup to a family in New York. Always wondered what became of him. I think that pup might have been Buddy's grandfather or great-grandfather," Emily murmured. Mrs. Thompson smiled. "So the lineage continues. Special dogs born to heal hearts." Emily returned to New York with her mind racing. A lineage of natural therapy dogs, passing the gift through generations. It was too extraordinary to be coincidence. She shared the discovery with Olivia, who was fascinated. "We have to look into this. There could be more dogs from this lineage out there." They launched a search. Through social media, they asked people to share stories of dogs with heart-shaped marks, showing unusual therapeutic abilities. The response was astounding. Dozens of stories came from across the United States. Dogs who'd saved people from depression, helped autistic children, comforted lonely seniors, all with the same distinctive mark. "It's like a secret brotherhood of canine angels," Olivia joked. But there was a serious pattern there. Emily decided to make this her master's project, genetically tracing these dogs to understand if there was something special in their DNA. The research revealed fascinating discoveries. The dogs of the heart lineage, as they became known, showed elevated levels of oxytocin, the hormone of love and bonding. They also had a sharp sensitivity for detecting emotional changes in humans. "It's science confirming what we've always known," Emily presented at a conference. "Some animals are born with the gift of healing." The discovery revolutionized the field of animal-assisted therapy. Responsible breeding programs were launched to preserve and spread these traits. But Emily made sure to emphasize, the gift is important, but love is fundamental. A dog without the mark can be just as therapeutic if given love and proper training. Years passed. Emily and Olivia, now accomplished women, continued their work. Both married and had children, and naturally each family had their therapy dog. Emily's son Nathan was born premature and with respiratory issues. They endured difficult months in the neonatal ICU. That's when Courage, one of Buddy's original puppies, now elderly, insisted on staying by the incubator. The doctors, familiar with Emily's work, allowed it. And something miraculous happened. Nathan's heartbeat stabilized whenever Courage was nearby. Buddy is still watching over us, Emily told Olivia, tears in her eyes. Through Courage, through all of them, Nathan grew up healthy, with a natural love for animals. By age 5, he was already helping his mother at the institute, handing out treats and affection to the dogs in training. Olivia's daughter Abigail was born with Down syndrome, but with the support of the therapy dogs, she developed beyond all medical expectations. Our children are living proof of the power of this work, Olivia said in an interview. They grew up seeing love in action every day. The institute now occupied an entire campus. There was a veterinary hospital, a training center, therapy, clinics, even a school for children with special needs, where the dogs were an integral part of the educational process. At a board meeting, Richard, now gray-haired but still active, reflected, "I thought I was offering $1 million for a dog, but Emily taught me I was trying to buy something that wasn't for sale. True love. Thanks to her refusal, millions were invested in something much greater. The numbers were impressive. The Institute had become one of the largest animal-assisted therapy organizations in the world. But for Emily, what mattered were the individual stories. Like Mike, a war veteran who arrived hopeless and found strength in Faith, one of the original puppies, to overcome his trauma. Today, he coordinated the Veterans Program. Or Jessica, the one who had brought legacy, who became one of the Institute's top trainers after seeing the transformation in the boy Ethan. Ethan, now a teenager, was one of the Institute's youth ambassadors, traveling to share his story and legacies. Silence was my prison, he would say. Legacy gave me the key to escape. On a special afternoon, the Institute received a distinguished visitor, the president. He came to learn about their work and announced that the model would be replicated across the public healthcare system. "What you've created here transcends therapy," he said. "It's a lesson in the power of love and compassion." During the visit, a touching moment occurred. One of the new puppies in training, a female named Victory, escaped the kennel and ran straight to the president, jumping into his lap. Everyone held their breath, waiting for his reaction. The president laughed, petting the puppy. "I think I've been chosen," he joked. "Can I adopt her?" "Of course," Emily replied, "but on one condition. She must continue her training and work as a therapist at the White House. There are many stressed people there who need help." The president agreed, laughing. Victory became the first official therapy dog of the American government. The story made global headlines. Invitations to replicate the model came from every continent. Emily and Olivia traveled, sharing their knowledge, but always returned home to the Institute, which was the heart of it all. On one of these trips, at a conference in London, Emily was approached by an elegant lady. "Miss Emily, I am Margaret Wilson. I have a story that might interest you." Margaret explained that 50 years ago, her grandmother had a dog with a heart-shaped mark that had saved many lives during World War II. The stories had been passed down through generations. "We always thought he was just our special dog. But seeing your work, I realize it's something bigger." The global network of heart dogs grew. Stories emerged from every corner of the world, an ancient lineage spread across continents, united by a common mission to heal human hearts. Back in the United States, Emily decided to write a book telling the whole story. Sitting in her office with Buddy the Seger, a puppy with the distinctive mark that had mysteriously appeared at the Institute, at her feet, she began, "It all started with a no." The book became an international bestseller. The rights were sold for a film, but Emily insisted all profits go to the Institute. "Buddy wouldn't approve if I profited from our story," she said. The movie moved millions. People from around the world wanted to visit the Institute, adopt therapy dogs, and learn the techniques. The movement grew exponentially. Yet amid all the success, Emily never lost sight of what mattered. Every day she made sure to work directly with the children and the dogs. It was in those simple moments that she found her true reward. Like the afternoon, an autistic girl spoke her first word in 5 years. Woof! Or when an elderly man with Alzheimer's, who no longer recognized his own family, smiled at seeing Hope and said, "What a beautiful dog. May I pet her?" These daily miracles kept Emily motivated. Olivia felt the same. "You know," Olivia said one night as they closed the institute, "sometimes I wonder what would have happened if my father had managed to get rid of Charlie that day." "None of this would exist," Emily replied. "Exactly. One act of kindness from Mrs. Jenkins changed thousands of lives. It's the butterfly effect of love." Mrs. Jenkins, now nearly 90, still visited the institute regularly. She was treated as a hero by everyone. "I just followed my heart," she always said. "But look at what you've built." The institute's 20th anniversary was celebrated with a week of events, workshops, lectures, demonstrations. People came from all over the world. The highlight was the unveiling of the Buddy Memorial, an interactive space where visitors could learn about the history and science behind animal-assisted therapy. At the center stood a life-sized bronze statue of Buddy, inscribed, "A dog who proved love is priceless." During the ceremony, something magical happened. All the dogs at the institute began barking in unison, as if paying tribute to their founder. "Buddy is here," Nathan, now a young veterinarian following in his mother's footsteps, said tearfully. "He never left." And it was true. Buddy's spirit lived on in every trained dog, every child helped, every life changed. That night, Emily took the stage for the closing speech. She looked out at the crowd, professionals, volunteers, families they'd helped, officials. She saw Sarah, now a proud grandmother, Catherine and Richard, aged but still passionate about their work, Olivia, her heart-sister, smiling encouragingly. 20 years ago, Emily began, a frightened girl said no to $1 million. Today I look at everything we've built and understand. It wasn't a no, it was a yes. Yes to love, yes to compassion, yes to the belief that a dog can change the world. A pause for the tears that stubbornly fell. Buddy taught me that. The greatest riches are the ones we share. That love multiplies when divided. That an act of kindness can echo through generations. She raised a glass of champagne. To Buddy, who started it all. To the dogs who continue his mission. To the children who found hope. To the adults who rediscovered joy. To everyone who believes in the power of unconditional love. Cheers. The toast echoed through the hall. Fireworks lit up the sky. And somewhere Emily was sure Buddy wagged his tail in approval. After the celebrations, Emily walked alone through the quiet campus of the institute. She passed the training center, where puppies learned to be therapists, the hospital where sick dogs received care, the therapy rooms where miracles happened daily. She stopped in front of Buddy's tree, now tall and lush. She sat on the bench beneath it, as she always did when she needed to think. "We did it. Old friend," she whispered, "we turned your love into a worldwide movement." A gentle breeze rustled the leaves, and for a moment, Emily swore she felt Buddy's soft fur brush against her hand. She closed her eyes, remembering that afternoon in the park 20 years ago, the frightened girl she had been, the desperate man who offered a fortune, the decision that changed everything. "Thank you," she said to the wind. "Thank you for choosing me. Thank you for teaching me that true love has no price." When she opened her eyes, she wasn't alone anymore. Nathan was there, with Buddy too on a leash. "Mom, are you okay?" Emily smiled, standing up. "Everything's perfect, son, just remembering how it all began." "Tell it again," Nathan asked, sitting beside her. "I never get tired of that story." And as night fell over New York, Emily told once more the story of the dog worth more than $1 million, of the love that refused to have a price, of the girl who said no to money and yes to her heart. Buddy, too, lying at their feet, seemed to listen, intently, as if he knew he was the heir to an extraordinary legacy. Because some stories deserve to be told forever, some lessons need to echo through generations, and some loves truly have no price. As the stars appeared in the sky, mother and son remained there, united by the love of a dog who turned two families into one, and one refusal into millions of reasons to believe in good. The next day, life at the institute would go on. More children would be helped. More dogs would be trained. More miracles would happen. Because that was Buddy's true legacy, living proof that when we choose love over profit, heart over convenience, we create waves of kindness that can change the world. $1 million would have changed one family's life. A dog's love changed the entire world. And that is the greatest wealth of all. End of story. Now tell us what you thought of the story and where you're watching from. If you have something to share with us, leave your sincere words in the comments. Do you think Emily made the right decision? We'd love to read your opinion. Thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget to like and, most importantly, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other heartwarming stories.